If costs are equal when a firm has a higher value gap than its competitor, it can be inferred that the firm can charge a premium price for its products and services. A firm's activities are best described as distinct and fine-grained business processes such as order taking, physical delivery of products, or invoicing customers. Activities. A good strategy should be able to provide products and services to customers at an attractive price point while maintaining internal cost, resulting in value creation. Stakeholder impact analysis is an important tool because it allows a manager to recognize, prioritize, and address the needs of various stakeholders. Stakeholder impact analysis. Why are scandals and the global financial crisis perceived as caused by cheap credit and subprime mortgages offered by financial institutions bad for business? They erode the implicit trust between the corporate world and society. Which of the following is a stakeholder attribute that managers should consider at every step in a stakeholder impact analysis? Legitimacy. When a firm integrates the competitive strategies of cost leadership and differentiation, it will most likely result in trade-offs that work against each other. Which of the following is a disadvantage faced by first movers in an industry? They will have to find distribution channels and complementary assets. Customer-oriented mission is a statement that articulates a company's commitment to prioritizing customer needs, satisfaction, and value creation in its operations and decision-making processes. It occurs when a firm steadily improves an existing product, thereby targeting an existing market while using existing technology. Incremental innovation. While Smart Tech Incorporated incurs $350 to manufacture a laptop, its competitor, Better Electronics Incorporated, incurs $300. However, laptops of both the companies have been able to create the same value among customers. From the given scenario, it can be inferred that Better Electronics and Smart Tech share a differentiation parity. Incumbent firms can benefit from several important sources of entry barriers, economies of scale, or one such source. Which of the following is an implication of economies of scale for incumbent firms? They can demand better terms for their suppliers. Generally speaking, which of these situations is likely to lead to greater profits? An industry with fewer but larger competitors. Which of the following cases was a company out of business due to a major competitive disadvantage? Without a clear strategic position, Sears tried to be too many things for too many types of customers. Which of the following real-world examples best supports the statement that strategic commitments to a specific industry may be the result of political rather than economic considerations? A number of European governments created Airbus through direct subsidies to provide countervailing power to Boeing. The idea that all available information about a firm's past, current state, and expected future performance is embedded in the market price of a firm's stock is called the efficient market hypothesis. Which of the following statements actually brings out the difference between an organization's vision and mission? Vision defines what the organization wants to accomplish ultimately, whereas the mission defines the means by which vision is accomplished. A firm that follows the differentiation strategy is protected from the threat of new entrants primarily due to its reputation for quality. Within the context of strategic management, it is important to understand that black swan events in the past have demonstrated that stakeholders can affect or be affected by a firm's action. Which of the following statements accurately brings out the difference between economies of scale and learning effects? Learning effects occur over time, whereas economies of scale are captured at one point in time when output is increased. Which of the following statements accurately brings out the distinction between a firm's resources and capabilities? While resources reinforce core competencies, capabilities allow managers to orchestrate their core competencies. Japanese carmakers first introduced small fuel-efficient cars and then leveraged their low-cost and high-quality advantages into high-end luxury segments dominated by brands such as Lexus, Infiniti, and Acura. This initiative best illustrates a disruptive innovation. Bottom-up strategies. From a corporate strategy perspective, a bottom-up strategy methodology means that the leadership level will determine the overall goals, but the workforce will assist in developing the mechanisms and ideas to meet that goal. Based on several consultations with the client, you realize that their per-unit costs are actually increasing as their business grows and expands. You conclude that this firm is experiencing diseconomies of scale. In a typical industry life cycle, an industry immediately moves to the growth stage after the introduction stage. Growth stage. When a company makes improvements in its social, economic, and ecological performance, it is adopting a triple bottom line approach to assessing competitive advantage. Triple bottom line. A firm's intended strategy is likely to fall by the wayside because of unpredictable events and turn into unrealized strategy. Intended. Firms pursuing a cost leadership strategy seek to deliver products or services at a lower cost than competitors. Cost leadership strategy. Economic contribution is created when the price a customer is willing to pay for a good or service is more than the cost the firm incurs to produce it. The frontline managers shifted Intel's production capacity away from the lower-margin DRAM business to the higher-margin semiconductor business. This emerged as a consequence of the firm's resource allocation process. Bottom-up strategy. In the coffee bean industry, the suppliers can only achieve competitive parity and not a competitive advantage. Thus, the coffee bean industry best illustrates perfectly competitive structure. Perfectly competitive. Product-oriented vision statement provide managers with goals to improve service. How has Walmart staked out a unique strategic position? By cutting costs to offer lower prices than competitors. Strategic group mapping establishes that competitive rivalry is strongest between firms that are within the same strategic group. When an organization briefly describes what they do and how they do it, they have more than likely articulated their mission statement. The supermarket chain has a large customer base due to its wide product portfolio and superior customer service. Which of the following generic business strategies has Delish Corporation adopted in the scenario? Delish Corporation is probably pursuing a differentiation strategy. Which of the following is an advantage of accounting data? Accounting data can be easily transformed into financial ratios to help assess and evaluate the competitive performance of firms. Which of the following SWOT factors are internal to the firm? Strengths and weaknesses. FL Systems Incorporated and Orexo Systems Incorporated are two competing firms. FL Systems Incorporated has $300,000 in tangible assets and $200,000 in intangible assets. Orexo Systems Incorporated has $150,000 in tangible assets and $347,000 in intangible assets. In the context of the resource-based view, FL Systems Incorporated will find it harder than Orexo Systems Incorporated to attain competitive advantage. Which of the following explains how dynamic capabilities are different from the resource-based view? Dynamic capabilities deal with applying resources over time. External stakeholders examples. customers, suppliers, shareholders, and regulatory bodies outside a company affected by its actions. Too Fast Incorporated, based on its market leadership, superior engine technology, service orientation, and consistently higher revenues, it has a competitive advantage over the other firms. Which of the following statements is typically true of early adopters? They appreciate new technology that can add value to their personal and professional lives. Which of the following actions of an automobile firm will be considered as a strategic commitment? The firm investing 8 years and $4 billion to develop a range of hybrid cars with which it will compete in the future. As differentiation and cost leadership are distinct strategic positions that require important trade-offs, it is quite difficult to translate a blue ocean strategy into reality. Radical innovation occurs when an existing firm recombines its existing knowledge with a new stream of knowledge for new markets. Existing knowledge, new markets. Which of the following groups is most likely to be considered a firm's internal stakeholders? Board members. Which of the following is not one of the viral characteristics of competitive advantage? Variable. Which of the following statements about patents is not true? A patent over a product translates into permanent monopoly position. Which of the following statements is true? A platform business exists to help make matches among users and facilitate the exchange of goods, services, or social currency. Which of the following has contributed to Tesla's competitive advantage in terms of stock appreciation? Reinvesting profits to continually design and produce better electric vehicles. The general managers of different bus and the functional managers formulated their own strategies. Which of the following approaches to the development of strategy does this best illustrate? Top-down strategic planning. Stewart bought his laptop and smartphone when these products had just entered their respective growth stages. More than the technological sophistication of these products, it was the idea that these products would allow him to multitask and work when traveling. Early adopters. The metaphor of a black swan best applies to events that are considered highly unexpected and highly impactful when they do occur. Which of the following statements is true of the growth stage in the industry lifecycle? Prices begin to fall during this stage when compared to the introduction stage. Restrictions imposed by the government, such as export quotas of certain products, are part of the political environment of the PESTAL framework. Political. The two primarily competitive levers that managers can use in order to question of how to compete are value and cost. Manufacturers sell consumer electronics. They procure their component parts from a similar set of suppliers in China and sell the final product to customers with similar needs. Thus, the three companies together are a part of an industry. While the industry for 5 grams compatible devices is in the introduction stage, the industry for 3 grams compatible devices are in the maturity stage. What does this imply? The market for 3 grams compatible devices has reached its maximum size, whereas the market for 5 grams compatible devices is still small in size. Red ocean strategy. Compete in existing market space, beat the competition, exploit existing demand, make the value-cost trade-off, align the whole system of a firm's activities with its strategic choice of differentiation or low cost. In the context of the SWOT matrix, which of the following best exemplifies an external opportunity for a firm? Decreasing government interference in the target market. There exist important trade-offs between value creation and low cost because value creation and cost tend to be positively correlated. Porter's 5 forces. threat of entry, threat of substitute, supplier power, buyer power, and competitive rivalry. If a company has 25 million shares outstanding and each share is traded at $400, the market capitalization is $10 billion. Market capitalization. A firm decides to retain $20,000 from its annual earnings and invest it in developing an advanced manufacturing system. According to the dynamic capabilities perspective, the $20,000 would most likely be referred to as the firm's resource flow. Dynamic capabilities perspective emphasizes adaptability and innovation to sustain competitive advantage amidst change. Which of the following innovations below is said to invade an existing market from the bottom up by leveraging novel technologies in order to penetrate existing markets? Disruptive innovation. According to the Level 5 Leadership Pyramid. 1. Highly capable individual. 2. Contributing team member. DH3. Competent manager. ASM4. Effective leader. SM5. Highest level of leadership. Driving organizational success. CEO. Which of the following is not a disadvantage of the balanced scorecard approach? According to the upper echelons theory, organizational outcomes reflect the values of the top management team. According to the Crossing the Chasm framework, a firm's transition between the different parts of the industry life cycle is difficult because there is a big gulf separating the early adopters from customer segments that make up the mass market. An experience curve attempts to capture both learning effects and process improvements. Janet is a marketing and sales employee at Forever Foods Incorporated. She has invented a new way to process and pack the company's food products that would avoid the usage of chemical preservatives. Which of the following terms best describes Janet? An intrapreneur. The cost leadership strategy helps a firm achieve competitive advantage when it does which one of the following? Permits a firm to perform similar activities than its rivals with resulting lower costs. The tenet behind the triple bottom line is that a firm should achieve positive results along the economic, social, and ecological dimensions to gain a sustainable strategy. The pattern of faulty and biased decision-making that occurs in groups whose members strive for argument at the expense of good decision-making is called groupthink. Which of the following does a firm possess when it can outperform other firms in the same industry or the industry average over a prolonged period of time? Sustainable competitive advantage. Forward integration involves a company expanding its operations into owning or controlling distributors, cutting out middlemen or retailers. Forward integrate. For a firm to sustain its competitive advantage, any fit between its internal strength and the external environment must be dynamic. A fragmented industry turns into a consolidated industry when firms reduce competition within the industry through mergers and acquisitions. Entrepreneurship is best described as the process by which people undertake economic risk to innovate to create new products, processes, and sometimes new organizations. Entrepreneurship. Which of these is a way to reconfigure a value chain? Entering an industry by offering sporting events on streaming video where competitors are offering them through cable hookups. Internal stakeholders. People who work for or own the business such as employees, directors, and stockholders. The relative bargaining power of suppliers is most likely low when incumbent firms face low switching costs when changing suppliers. In the context of the VRIO framework, a resource is said to be valuable if it allows a firm to take advantage of an external opportunity. Both firms draw their strengths from distinct resource bundles. Which of the following assumptions of the resource-based model of competitive advantage does this scenario best illustrate? Resource heterogeneity. to invest in operations in the same developing nations as its competitors. Within a short period of 6 months, costs kept increasing, so it could not compete against the already established brands. Failure can be best attributed to time compression diseconomies. When using the balanced scorecard approach to assess a firm's performance, which of the following is not a key question that managers need to answer? What intangible assets do we need? How do complements affect a primary product or service? They increase the demand for the primary product. If a pharmaceutical company develops a first-of-its-kind vaccine to prevent HIV/AIDS and thus creates a whole new market for the product, it would be a radical innovation. Radical. The Board of Quick Incorporated plans to engage in R&D for 3 years, allocating budgets to each business unit based on past performance and liquidating underperforming units. This illustrates a strategy of proactive restructuring. Corporate strategy. While the industry for tablet computers is in the growth stage, the laptop industry is in its shakeout stage. What does this imply? While the market demand for tablets will be high, the demand for laptops will be limited. The company under its Plant a Life campaign promises to plant a tree with every customer purchase. Which of the following terms best describes the performance valuation model of Redwood Corporation? Social entrepreneurship. Measuring how a customer views a firm under the balanced scorecard framework is important because customer perspective is directly linked to firm revenues and profits. According to the resource-based view, a firm's competitive advantage often stems from its tangible resources opposed to its intangible resources. Tangible resources, intangible resources. In a perfectly competitive industry structure, any competitive advantage that one firm has will be short-lived. In a perfectly competitive industry structure, any competitive advantage that one firm has will be short-lived. According to the value chain analysis, which of the following is a support activity? Research and development. Which of the following statements does the upper echelons theory support? Executives interpret situations through the lens of their unique perspectives, shaped by personal circumstances, values, and experiences. Which of the following is a disadvantage of the balanced scorecard approach to measure firm performance? It provides only limited guidance about which performance metrics to choose. Which of the following is the best example of a platform business? Uber ride-hailing services. Competitive rivalry tends to be more fierce on exit barriers in the industry or high, resulting in some firms being locked into the industry. Competitive rivalry. Mobility barriers are industry-specific factors that separate one strategic group from another. Mobility barriers equals automotive industry, brand loyalty, technology industry, intellectual property, pharmaceutical industry, regulatory hurdles, retail industry, market dominance. In the third step of innovation process, invention is commercialized by entrepreneurs. While the thumb drive industry has reached its maximum market size, the market size for floppy disks is small and contracting. In the financial year 2016, for every $100 in revenues, Microsoft earned $21.5 in profit, while Apple earned $20.6 in profit. This demonstrates that Microsoft's return on revenue was higher than that of Apple. Consumer surplus is best described as the difference between the value a consumer attaches to a good or service and what he or she paid for it. Consumer surplus. A firm is likely to have a competitive advantage when it provides services that consumers will value more than those of its rival. A consolidation industry turns into a fragmented industry when restrictive government policies are introduced in the industry. One major limitation of using accounting profitability as a measure for competitive advantage is its focus on tangible assets versus intangible assets. Tangible assets, intangible assets. The auditor of a public company is assessing the value of all the intangible assets owned by the company. Which of the following would most likely be included in this assessment? The company's brand equity. Which of the following statements best supports the fact that even during a period of low demand in the U.S. automotive industry, excess capacity remained? GM and Chrysler, despite their bankruptcy, restructured instead of existing the industry. Dr. Shetty is able to drive down the cost of complex medical procedures from $100,000 to $2,000 not by doing one big thing but rather by doing 1,000 small things. This approach focuses on driving down the cost of healthcare through process innovation. The amount that savers are paid for use of their money and the amount that borrowers pay for that use is best described as a interest rate. If a firm is not effectively organized to exploit the competitive potential of a valuable, rare, and costly to imitate prior resource, the best-case scenario is a temporary competitive advantage. The sum of consumer surplus and producer surplus for a good or service equals a economic value created. An organization's mission describes what the organization actually does, the products and services it plans to provide, and the markets in which it will compete. Mission. GiftBasket.com has successfully created a higher perceived value in the e-commerce industry, though it offers the same products at slightly higher prices than the competitors. This has been mainly attributed to the company's easy-to-navigate website, simple return procedures, fast delivery, superior customer service. A diagnosis of the competitive challenge, an element of a good strategy, is primarily accomplished through strategy analysis. Which of the following firms most likely has the lowest bargaining power as a buyer? A cell phone company that requires highly customized software for its phones. How are the early majority and ist majority different in their attitudes toward technology? The early majority is confident in their ability to master the new technology. The late majority is not. Stan is capable of conveying the company's vision and mission to groups. As a result, he can guide groups to superior performance. From this scenario, we can say that Stan is currently at GM Level 5 leadership pyramid. Level 4. The value chain view describes the internal activities a firm engages in when transforming inputs into outputs. Value chain view. By selling a laptop at $1,200 for which consumers are willing to pay up to $1,300, a consumer electronics firm makes a profit of $500 per unit. What is the economic value created in the scenario? $600. Patents, designs, copyrights, trademarks, and trade secrets are 5 forms of intellectual property. Which of the following statement actions that allow which of the following statements is true of strategy? Actions that allow a firm to address a competitive challenge are strategy. Organizational core values are the answer to which of the following questions? What commitments do we make to act both equally and ethically? William estimated that a pair of perfect fit jeans would be worth $60 for its brand and durability. However, at the new fit store, the pair of jeans he wanted was available for $45. The difference of $15 in this scenario is referred to as the consumer surplus. The greater the difference between value creation and cost, the greater a firm's economic contribution. Which of the following statements will effectively guide a strategist? The principles of strategic management can be applied universally to all organizations. The viability of a differentiation strategy is severely undermined when the differentiated products become commoditized throughout the industry. Using the value chain analysis, managers can see how competitive advantage flows from a firm's distinct set of activities. Value chain analysis. Let's Roll Incorporated and Red 4 Cycles Incorporated are two competing motorcycle companies. While Red Hot's cost of goods sold revenue is 63.4%, the cost of goods sold revenue of Maverick Cycles is 54.2%. What do you infer from this financial data? Let's Roll is less efficient than Red 4 Cycles in producing goods. Which of the following is a fragmented industry? It consists of many small firms. Users have access to a basic version with limited message recipients for free, but they have to pay a fee to have unlimited message recipients or to use advanced features. Which of the following business models does this best illustrate? Freemium. Since most of its competitors are pursuing a low-cost position and doing well, EatNow also wants to adopt the same strategy. EatNow will face low profit potential. Invention is best described as the modification and recombination of existing one's process of transformation of an idea into a new product or process, or the invention. Let's Talk Corporation is a public company whose shares are currently trading in the market at $150 each. The company manufactures smartphones at the cost of $300 per unit and sells them in the market for $500 each. What is the company's producer surplus? $200. Pestle. Political, economic, social, technological, environmental, legal. Which of the following questions would a firm's business strategy ideally answer? How should we compete? Although both the companies sell their smartphones at the same price, Speed Dial Corporation has a larger market share in the laptop industry. What does this imply? Speed Dial Corporation has been able to offer more perceived value than Phones Incorporated. There are several cost drivers that can be managed in order to establish a low-cost leadership advantage. One of the primary cost drivers is combining experience-based learning and process innovation to move on to a steeper learning curve. There are several cost drivers that can be managed in order to establish a low-cost leadership advantage. One of the primary cost drivers is combining experience-based learning and process innovation to move on to a steeper learning curve. Which of the following is a philanthropic responsibility of a firm? Exhibiting corporate citizenship. When a blue ocean strategy is successfully formulated and implemented, investments in differentiation and low costs are not substitutes but complements. Which of the following statements have customer-oriented visions? They define a business in terms of providing solutions to people's needs. Emerco Incorporated and Sensation Electronics Incorporated sell at the same price of $600 per unit. The economic value created by Emerco Incorporated is more than that of Sensation Electronics Incorporated. In the context of the scenario, Emerco has a relative cost advantage over Sensation Electronics. Each restaurant makes its product unique by offering a different cuisine, a different ambience, organic ingredients, or different services. This differentiation allows each restaurant to set its own prices. Thus, the restaurant industry best illustrates a monopolistically competitive structure. What term is used to describe cooperation by competitors who want to achieve a strategic objective? Cooperation. When asked to explore the strengths and weaknesses of a firm, which of the following would be the best framework to employ? None of these answers are correct. A company's vision primarily states what the company wants to ultimately accomplish. $5.5 billion. As legal owners, which of the following stakeholder groups has the most legitimate claim on this profit? Shareholders. When a firm reconfigures components of an existing technology to enter into new markets, they are said to be employing architectural innovation. Which of the following statements is true of the Level 5 leadership pyramid? Each level of leadership builds upon the previous one in the pyramid. 1 Associate, 2 Department Supervisor, 3 SMGR, 4 General MGR, 5 CEO. In a focused differentiation strategy, a firm seeks to deliver products or services with unique features to a specific narrow part of the market. And the dynamic capabilities perspective. For an asset or a capability to be included in a firm's resource stock, it should be built through investments over time. If a company chooses to keep its vision customer-oriented rather than product-oriented, what will be its implication? The company will tend to be more flexible when adapting to changing environments. The value of good services in the eyes of consumers is static, which makes it difficult to accurately assess what someone is willing to pay for that product and service. This limitation is most directly tied to which of the following multidimensional perspective below? Economic value creation. Because of its highly efficient automobile engines, which competitors have been unable to develop or buy at a reasonable price in the context of the VRIO framework, the resource is costly to imitate. A blue ocean strategy typically allows a firm to offer a differentiated product or service at low cost. Which of the following is an example of a firm's capabilities? Skills involved in training and managing a workforce. The nation is currently experiencing an economic downturn. Which of the following is the most likely benefit of this economic condition for ES Solutions Incorporated? ES Solutions Incorporated will have better access to highly skilled human capital at a lower cost. Groups or entities outside of the company or organization who have an interest or concern in its activities, decisions, or outcomes. External stakeholder is best described as executives' use of power and influence to direct the activities of others when pursuing organizational competitive advantage. Internal stakeholders. People who work for or own the business, such as employees, directors, and stockholders. Which of the following statements is true of an oligopoly? It is often analyzed using game theory. Competitive advantage. Company and its products are perceived by the target market as significant and superior to those of the competition. Coffee Incorporated has found a balance between these two strategic groups by using automated ordering to free up its employees to work as master baristas and bakers, thus focusing on creating excellent products. It charges a price slightly above that of cheap beans. Blue ocean strategy. Some scholars have added a sixth force to Porter's five forces model. The sixth force, complement, is believed to add value to the original product offering or service when the two are used in tandem. Threat of new entrants, bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, threat of substitute products or services, intensity of competitive rivalry, complement. All of the following are tools primarily used to achieve cost leadership except offering products at a premium price. All of the following are tools primarily used to achieve cost leadership except offering products at a premium price. In the blank, firms change the underlying technology while holding cumulative output constant. Experience curve.